right, we are live to the world. No intro screen, nothing like that. We're just gonna go raw. That's how everyone likes it, dude. Milk steak, Sasuke.
Sure.
How you guys doing today?
Hello.
Fantastic, man.
Doing well, man. How about yourself?
Love to see it. I can't complain. I can't complain. Phase 2 is out. The no lifing is commencing. I know both you guys are multitasking right now, putting in that work, while also doing a stream or doing a podcast. Love to see it. Everyone's out there grinding. So
also going.
Absolutely. So people are starting to trickle in now. Welcome, guys, to the stream. This is pretty off the cuff. We're just gonna keep it real with you guys. We're very interested in PvP. It's probably our favorite thing about the game. I don't want to speak on your guys' behalf, but we want to do something for the community, something PvP related, some kind of show. So this is very, very rough, kind of the pilot here. But we'll be going back and forth with you guys in the chat. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, it's a two-way street. And what you can expect here is just kind of raw, unfiltered, thoughts on PvP, community, all that good stuff. I'm excited. I've been wanting to do this for a while. So let us first introduce these two fine gentlemen to the channel, Milksteak and Sasuke. If you could be so kind as to explain, your entire life in 1 minute. No, I'm joking. But just how you came up with your name, maybe what class you play, even though it's there, your goals, all that good stuff. Milksteak, go for it, bro. Hit me with that.
You want to?
Bio.
I'm going first.
Hit me with that bio, dude.
Hey, I go by Milksteak, LOL. Most people just call me Pat. I'm a shaman player. I've been a shaman main for several years now. I've been playing the game since vanilla, and I'm a very PvP oriented player. It's just what I prefer to get out of the game. I think most people watching this might agree. And just a huge classic advocate as well. I've just been playing it for as long as I can remember, since private servers were a thing. I've been playing them. You name it, I probably played on it. And also been a huge Blizzard fan, pretty much from Warcraft all the way to StarCraft to Overwatch. Pretty much just been involved in the whole Blizzard franchise for a long time too. And the name Milksteak comes from my favorite show. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's a fucking hilarious show.
Always Sunny, hell yeah.
Yeah, great show. So that's where the name comes from, but most people just call me Pat. If you know me, you just call me Pat.
Remind me though, it's been a minute. I haven't watched that show since like junior year of college. How does it derive from the show again?
It's Charlie's favorite food, man. So when they go to sign Charlie up for the dating site, he's trying to get over the waitress. They sign him up for a dating site, and one of the questions was he asked what his favorite food was, and he put milk steak with a side of jelly beans, raw.
That's funny.
Boiled over hard. Yeah. So.
Also, Milksteak, content creator, streamer, been doing the content thing. I think before I even had any content out or anything like that. Like I remember just surveying. It was kind of sparse. Can you believe it, man? A couple years ago, like there was not this much content out on Classic WoW. And I'm looking at your channel right now. You've got some stuff that's a couple years old. Vanilla Enhancement Shaman Guides. You seem very much an enthusiast of the Shaman class.
Yes, sir.
Is that your spirit class?
It is, man. On Nostarius, I played Warlock and Warrior, Rogue. That's where I kind of experimented with all the different classes. And once I found Shaman, I augured in on it. There's just something about the way this class plays. And I think one of the things about Shaman that's so enticing is that there's a ceiling to it that nobody quite knows how high it goes. And I learned from some great shamans, Egregious and, UHDX and StormX and those guys. And, from there, I just kind of took what they taught me and decided to just pursue it full time. So. No, I love the class so much. I prefer to play, Elemental Resto, and I've played Enhancement. I've played any variation of Shaman you could possibly imagine. I've definitely tried it and played it and tested it. So, yeah, no, I love the class. I love it.
That's awesome. I've noticed that Shamans are a very passionate group, that's for sure. Once you go Shaman, fucking nothing rhymes with shaman. Sasuke, how's it going, buddy? How are you, man? How goes the honor?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I just got ganked by 6 Alliance here in Ironforge again. But comes with the territory, so.
Absolutely. Sasuke, gotta hype. I gotta hype the god Sasuke up. Sasuke and I, we've done a couple duel tournaments together now. He's been mainly at the Reigns organizing it, putting it together. He runs a Scarum dueling Discord as well. Very much interested in the content creator scene. Again, OG Vanilla Head. Been playing for a while. I'm very excited to be doing this podcast with him. Sorry, I'll pass it to you, Sasuke. What's TLDR Sasuke look like?
Fair enough. I guess the TLDR for me is I started playing in Elysium. I started in Chronos 2 just before Elysium had come out. I got a Paladin level 60, realized I hated playing Paladin, tried like 4 or 5 other classes, finally fell into Rogue, and I've only played Rogue since then. And then how I got the name? I got the name Sasuke because my friend was trying to come up with like a league name, because his League of Legends in-game name was Scott Casme, which is his real name. And so I was like...
Their real name usernames, dude. I remember.
Yeah, yeah, dude. He was one of those guys. And so, he was like a big Naruto fan. That was like his favorite show. And so like I just came up with the pun. Ended up realizing I actually really liked it. And just took it for myself.
Now, if you played K2, did you meet Milksteak before in the past? Because you're a big Chronos guy, right, Pat?
I wasn't so big on Chronos myself, actually. It wasn't until, K2 I did play. It was under a different alias, and I actually played Warlock there as well.
Oh, very cool. Gotcha. So, I mean, that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much the end of any sort of scripting to this. Right now, we're just introducing ourselves, warming it up a little bit with you guys. You guys know me, playing Warlock. Hunter's kind of my spirit class, but been playing Warlock and really, really enjoying it. Oh, man, 5 tier 1 subs. That is very kind of you. Thank you so much, Liminal, for the kind donation to the channel. I really appreciate it, dude. Welcome, everybody new. It's a good sign. It's a good omen. It's a good start for things to come. But yeah, we're not sure if we want to do this weekly, bi-weekly, or whatever. This is... Our fate is in your hands, chat. We're trying to feel you guys out here and trying to do something cool for the PvP community. Alright, let's open it up, though. Do you guys have any initial thoughts, PvP-wise? What's going on?
I think it's an interesting spot we're in here on Scarum, man. We're severely outnumbering the Alliance, and it seems like that we're just running around clamoring for any opportunity to... I know, Sasuke, you kind of found your own creative solution to that, didn't you?
Yeah, man. You just go into the major cities, go right next to the portal, and there's always people going through the portal, man. That's like, there's always people in the major city. It's the whole thought process.
So you are, as we speak, in Ironforge assassinating people?
Yes, I am.
Okay, that's okay. And just to back up again too, what are your guys' goals for PvP? Yeah, rank wise, or maybe it's not a rank that your goal is, but
honestly, man, I really want to get to rank 14. I don't know how realistic that is. Just considering, right now I need a bit of real life money, so that's taken a large portion of my time. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'm one of those people that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm gonna do it. So
well, is this the first time you guys are seriously ranking in vanilla?
For Milksteak, definitely not. I know he's like ranked multiple times. I don't know how many times he's on a shaman particularly, but I know he's multi-ranked for sure.
So this is gonna be the 3rd time on shaman, but no, I'm basically just looking for rank 12 here. That is basically just for the pieces of the epic PvP set that influence elemental rather than enhancement. So I get a nice cutoff at rank 12, which is basically where I tap out anyway because of my own real life obligations. I've never gone 14. you know, by choice and by basically the fact that I look at how those guys do it and how much they have to play, and I'm just like, nah, dude, no,
Mm-hmm.
not interested particularly.
Some would say
But
even getting to 12 from 10, there's that huge commitment as well. Would you?
there is,
Yeah.
yeah. So you can get to rank 10 pretty casually, believe it or not. And by pretty casually, I mean if you play on average 4 to 6 hours a night and you're predominantly PvPing, it's going to take you a while, but you will get there. To get over that rank 10 to a rank 11 hump, I found that the way I solved that problem, because I tried to continue doing it sort of semi-casually, excuse me, I had to join a pre-made, and then I found a good pre-made that got me to 12, and then I was also so I kind of luck out in that aspect. I'm not like a warrior where the end goal is to be, you know, with the weapons and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, and that those weapons are, you know, best in slot till max for rogue, and really looking to get that shit. So it's gonna be a grind,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Definitely. So even the PvE heads, you know, if they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, they have to do this, right? It's the weapons are best on max, as you said. We got Ken Beast in here too. What's up, Ken Beast? He's another content creator. How's it going, brother? As for myself, I'm thinking rank 10 probably. I had big aspirations to be Gen 1 ranker and see how deep the rabbit hole goes, but one, I lack experience. I've never really seriously ranked in a vanilla environment. Back in the day as a little kid, I think I just got rank 8 without even, just kind of unconsciously doing it, just playing the game, just ended up with rank 8. But you know, one is a lack of experience, and two, the holiday season is coming up, and I know a lot of us probably have plans and stuff with family, have to travel or whatever, and I feel like that's just gonna put me too far behind, and I'm just trying to just have fun, man. I'm trying to just have fun, like play with people I like being around, and you know, PvP and have fun, and however, you know, my understanding is that if you do that for enough time, you will get at least rank 10. So that's sort of the plan.
Yeah, and I mean, especially playing Warlock, right? It must be pretty nice right now.
Oh yeah,
running around with your your tier 1 and everything like that, man. I looked at your character yesterday. I recall you and I we were playing a bit yesterday. Sort of this pug turned into this Invictus death ball, and just for like 4 straight hours we just like steamrolled Blackrock Mountain. That was a ton of fun. But how's it been out in the world as a Warlock? Because as a shaman, there's been some struggles, I won't lie.
Yeah, as a Warlock, it's been pretty OP. I also multi-box with a Mage, always with me at the same time, so he's there to support me and provide inventory space, food and water, portals. So yeah, it's been the good life at the Warlock. This will be the last week that we enjoy a population that doesn't have access to the PvP trinket, though. So I'll be enjoying those last moments. I think that will be good for people who are very frustrated playing against Warlocks if you have a trinket that does remove fear. But it's been really good. I played Hunter 3 times as a main in different private servers, and ended up maining Hunter back in vanilla. And Warlock is a totally fresh experience to me, and I've never felt stronger. I've never felt more powerful. I'm having an absolute blast playing this class. There's a lot to sink your teeth into, and yeah, really enjoying it. So
you brought up the PvP trinkets there. One of the things that is killing me right now is the lack of a PvP trinket. My lord, dude, it's tough, dude. Without a PvP trinket, because Shaman PvP trinket especially is great with the stun, snare, and immobilize, and the slow. I mean, it's in a warrior and rogue, it's really tough. I'm so accustomed to having it that not having it has been a real challenge.
Just running into warlocks, every time I see a warlock as a rogue, I just dread when they cast fucking fear or death coil, because the second that happens, I'm just dead. There's nothing I can do against it. I just see it coming, and that's all she wrote all the time, every single time. Most of the time that I see that death coil coming too, it's, you know, like there's like, especially because I'm in Ironforge, there's more alliance being around me, and so I'm being, you know, being CC'd, and I don't have time to swap trinkets or anything. I just get killed by warlocks because fear. It's so strong, man.
Yeah, it's so strong.
I didn't get rid of it.
Yeah, dude, fear is so insane. Do you guys have all the trinkets and stuff like that? Do you guys have title and all that good stuff. I still don't have an AGM. I don't have title. I'm still missing some stuff.
I don't have title yet either.
Yeah.
Just an AGM and title specifically. I was gonna go get AGM, but then life just kind of got in the way. So.
Yeah, for sure. There was an opportunity. If I could do it all over again, I would have prioritized it a little bit more because there was an opportunity there where people weren't. My buddy Grace for days, he just got it on his. He got it like over and over again. Every few hours, he freaking got the thing, and no one was contesting it or anything. And should have done it. Should have. Would have. Could have. But yeah. So if you guys have any questions as well in the chat, specifically with regard to matchups, how the rank 14 PvP system works, how Milksteak conditions his beard, I'm curious. Any of the above, let us have it. Just fling it out there, and we'll try and.
Do not, for the record. I don't condition my beard.
No,
I truly don't.
No, you get.
Wake up in the morning, dude.
Oh yeah, you have one of those kits,
right
dude. You
now,
don't do
man.
nothing.
Like, I don't do nothing, dude. You think I rolled out of bed this morning? I went to Chipotle.
Ooh.
That's how I conditioned my beard, dude.
That's how you condition your beard with a burrito bowl.
With a burrito, dude.
Nice. Yeah. I actually had Chipotle today as well. It's the ranking food of champions. So I know North is a big walnut fan. I don't know if you know this about North. He is he tries to min-max the IRL nutrition as well while ranking, and he believes in the power of walnuts and also the fact that they dry your mouth out and make you not hungry fast, so you can continue ranking and pumping. And they provide good types of monosaccharide fats for your brain, so you can keep thinking and stay sharp. What do you guys eat while you're ranking?
Chipotle for sure, man. There's nothing quite like a Chipotle burrito, honestly. And like, this is not an exaggeration. There was 1 month in my college career where the entire month I had a Chipotle burrito.
Yeah, I remember
just one single burrito for the whole month. How did you divide that up?
No. One burrito a day from Chipotle.
One burrito a day.
I need some Chipotle, dude.
Keeps the doctor employed. No, it's actually healthy, right? It's healthy. It is.
It's not even close.
No? If you get a burrito bowl, dude, come on, dude. If you get no rice. No, I mean I do, but what, they had Chipotle episode?
Shit blood, dude. Are you kidding me?
I do remember that episode, yeah. Yo, Liminal, man. Dude, you kidding me, Liminal. Another 5 tier 1 subs, brother. Appreciate it. That's got to be from Milksteak's channel or something. Liminal, new to the channel, going ham in here with the 10 subs. Really appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. I remember back in the day in college, I used to be a bit of a meathead, another lifetime ago, and I was just living in the gym all the time, and there's one dude who's so jacked, just one of those big dude, just tree trunk, legs, and he's just chalk all over his freaking face and his nose and everything, and just an absolute monster. And I'm like, hey man, what's your secret? You gotta tell me your secret. You're out here like you're so strong, you have like 9 plates on each side. And he's like, honestly bro, I just eat a shitload of Chipotle. And that was it. That was it. That was the story. And yeah, you see when go to Chipotle, get no rice, double beans, double meat. It can be alright, it can be healthy, you can get those macros.
Guacamole, maybe?
Yeah. Little guac. But yeah, classic WoW ranking. It's pretty much the opposite of fitness, right?
Yeah, it's like, how long can you endure is kind of like the whole aspect of ranking, really.
Pretty much.
I mean, it's I don't know how long Show and Chris have been farming, but as far as my understanding is concerned, they've probably already put in about I want to say a good 25 hours in the ranking.
Damn.
26. Yeah.
A lot of things about Classic WoW is how long can you take the punishment and you get rewarded, whether it's farming gold or leveling. It's just notice a trend here. They keep that carrot dangling perpetually. So I'm curious about your thoughts on the meta, guys. Going into this, I was talking with Haptics, I was talking with North, talking with all these big brainers, and I was hoping to piggyback off their knowledge. And they were like, the meta is going to be who can sit outside a Dire Maul the longest with the fewest amount of people. And I was thinking, dude, Dire Maul is going to be lit. It's going to be so much action at Dire Maul. I was licking my chops. I went out to Dire Maul yesterday. barely anybody there. Maybe because it's the horde disparity on Skyrim or whatever. But how do you feel about the way this meta is unfolding? And do you have any hot tips for all the people watching?
So honestly, I think right now the best people for ranking are going to be rogues, just because they're going to be able to go into major cities, and so they're going to be able to go into the best hubs possible where the alliance are located. And honestly, I don't think solo is the best way to go, just because oftentimes you're not going to have enough time to be able to kill whatever target you're going to go on. Also, it makes a lot of other fights way more risky to go into. Like if there's two people, you can't engage. Whereas if you were a duo, you could sap one, and at least one of you could trade off with blinds and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I think rogue is honestly the best way.
Just be a rogue. Yeah.
That's a rogue. That's
nice.
It's a good tip for all of the.
Solid. Yeah. Solid.
No, that's good though. You feel so. I take it you feel like you're being quite successful in your strategy right now, because you seem like you're just calm, you're chilling, you haven't deviated the strat at all. You're just executing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, man. I don't know. I probably get like for the first couple hours, I was getting like 4,000 or 5,000 honor an hour. When I was in the trio, which is a lot. It's
so
you're about a kill.
You're in a trio of rogues. All rogues.
I was for a while. Right now, I'm just solo, just because the rogues I was with are not online or AFK. So.
Is there any advantage of bringing a druid? I guess you really just need to vanish that bad to escape danger.
Honestly, a druid wouldn't be bad, just because there's a couple of places where you can go and reset the guards pretty successfully. Yeah, I mean, a druid would be really useful, especially because you could get a battle res in case things go really awry. And as well, you're able to get rid of decurses, which Curse of Agony is just one of the most disgusting abilities ever in PvP.
Oh, you love it. You love it, dude. So much damage. It's amazing.
So much. Its base damage is what, like 2.4k?
Yeah, it's like 2k, dude. It's insane. It's insane, let alone an amplified one, dude. Good luck. Good luck, dude.
Yeah.
Good luck.
The only other thing I would add to that is we're living in the world of consumable craft right now. I think that if you're not a rogue, for example, which trust me right now, I really wish I was. I really, really wish I was. I guess two things. One, come prepared, right? Sapper charges, free action potions, limited invulnerabilities, health and mana potions, demonic runes if you're a mana user, all these things. Just make sure you have them. The time is now to use them. And then the other thing I would say is don't fall victim to the Zergs. Like the idea that you join a 40-man raid group and you might be getting 5 to 10 honor per kill on first kill, right? And even if you're against a larger group, there's death balls running around everywhere right now. I was in Ungaro Crater about 15 minutes ago and got steamrolled by a 25-man alliance group out of nowhere. But there's also higher yield of honor if you can manage to, and Sasuke knows this because he's been doing it all day, but you're getting 200 honor per kill if you're solo. And so that's one of the things that if you're a rogue, that's great. And if for even classes like Shaman or Warlock, specifically Kargaz, you could probably, be out there soloing whoever you want at this point. And that's I think that's an important point to make as well, is that you don't necessarily have to be in a large raid group just because that's what everybody's doing. If you can go about your business, one of the things I've tried to do is just kind of realize this is sort of the long game. It costs money to keep those consumables up, and if I can farm some gold and also farm some alliance at the same time, few and far between as they may be here on Skyrim, it's really beneficial because not only am I getting solo kill credit for that, or duo kill, right? Because I pair up with my friend, maybe we're getting 100 honor, 200 honor a kill, but we're also making gold in the process, and that's going to fund all these consumables that we actually need to have that competitive advantage. And opinions aside, the reality is in classic World of Warcraft, consumables are not only necessary, but it just puts you on a whole nother playing field against people who don't have them.
100%, man. I'm also learning consumable discipline big time, because at the current rate of spending the consumes, I'll be out of consumes in like a week, dude. I was hoping to stockpile a bunch and be good for a while. Yeah, that's not happening, dude. I need to have a lot of discipline with it, and I also think, you know, for example, when we started off our journey yesterday, killing people on the open world, we started off at the Flight Master in the east part of Feralus, right? So like the Alliance can go to Dire Maul, I guess 3 ways. They can go run south from Desolus, they can go to Feathermoon, take that boat, or they can fly into that little Flight Master way off on the east, right by Thousand Needles. So I went over there, and on my mage, I killed all the civilians because fuck it, he's just like my throwaway 60. And then we waited for Alliance to drop down, and we would poly him, and we would kill him. And yeah, it wasn't the greatest honor per hour, but it didn't take any consumables. Like, it was brain dead, you know. And like when I'm thinking quality of life, like that would be a chill way to go, kind of autopilot mode, to get some honor, because they'd have to be rolling in there in a huge force. Like Rise actually ended up wiping up us at one point. They came in there like super high speed, and they all landed at the same time and killed us. But consumable discipline, preserving your consumables, and they like or what Milksteak's saying, find a way to generate gold, hit 2 birds with 1 stone.
I think
gotta be
that's
the play.
For me, that's what's been working. The Zergs are great. Like, they're a ton of fun. The issue that I have with these big like Zergs is that I'm a big individual sort of player, and I like the 1 versus 1s or the 2 versus 2s, those sort of micro world PvP engagements where what's on the line is a run back. If you're an Ungaro Crater, that run back is gonna suck. If you're an Elwyn Forest, that run back is gonna suck. So there's a big incentive to win it, and it adds an element of excitement to the PvP of this game. And so if you can supplement that with some gold farming, and one of the things about this game that's so great is you go to his own like Ungaro Crater. That's what we're talking about. That's where I just was. That's where my mind is at. There's everybody, is contesting those devil swords, right? And on Scarum, unfortunately, it's mostly Horde, just because of the faction imbalance. But let's say you're on a server like Earth Fury, where it's fairly balanced, and you're basically fighting for that, for that gold, for those devils, for those dinosaurs. You know what I mean? Those piece of shit dinosaurs that everybody wants to kill and skin. And when you win that fight, I think it's more rewarding. Now, there's also something to be said about wiping a 40v40 when they're trying to go raid, and then prevent them from doing what their objective is, which is to zone into Molten Core. You make it last as long as possible. You take as much honor away from it as you can. That's okay too. But the point I'm trying to make is that I suppose maybe don't prioritize one or the other. Realize that both are perfectly acceptable strategies of moving forward. Because the reality is we don't know what the brackets are going to look like. And for those of you who might not know what the brackets are, it's essentially just a grouping of players. And it starts at 1 with the most honor and then goes down from there. And until the second week comes out, we don't know what those brackets are going to look like. We're kind of just going in blind. We don't know how much honor we need. We don't know how many HKs translate to honor. What the yield is for people who are soloing versus world PvP. Group PvP. We don't necessarily know what the meta is yet. So this is the perfect opportunity for you to go out there and do a Sasuke. This man's been sitting in Ironforge for 8.5 days, and ranking's only been out for 2. So I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, hell yeah, more power to you, man. 200 honor per kill right now is pretty good, especially if you're efficient like this man is. So maybe Sasuke, you could talk a little bit about what it's been like, just kind of behind enemy lines, just taking these fights by yourself and not really relying on anybody else.
I mean, honestly, it's kind of like it depends on the hour of the day, really, right? Like right now, it's been pretty bad just because every time I'll try and kill one person, it ends up being like 5 or 6 Alliance that just show up immediately, and it's and get killed, and I can't really do anything about it. But then there's like other hours where people don't have their aren't on their guard, and you can just go in and find somebody who's kind of slightly AFK and get a free honor kill out of it. You do that 5 or 6 times in about 10 minutes, and voila, you've picked up about 1,000, maybe even 1,200 experience, 1,200 honor. It's not even it hasn't even been 15-20 minutes.
Well, shit, man. I remember we were in Terran Mill in Hillsbrad earlier, and we were pushing up on South Shore, and we were wiping groups of 10, 15, getting 3 to 5 honor per kill. And I remember we went and got a couple of solo kills off to the side along the riverside along that shit, and we're like, man, we just got more honor off that one kill than we spent 10 minutes in South Shore just, you know, AoE farming these guys. We got way more honor from just that one kill.
So I wonder if that's going to lead to people making this realization. Like, you remember how leveling happened? Everyone had their own different strats. Sort of the better strats kind of rise to the surface. People all look at it and they try to kind of just copy pasta that. And maybe we see people kind of splinter off into smaller groups. It's possible, right? We could see that if it becomes more efficient. If it kind of gets proven to be that efficient. I also really like your strategy, Sasuke, because it's so RP rogue, man. I mean, you be a rogue in a team fight, you know, I don't want to overgeneralize, but you can feel kind of useless sometimes, right? In these big brawls with sapper charges flinging around everywhere, and you know, all this craziness going on. It makes a lot of sense, and it's kind of true to the rogue ethos, you know, just being this solo, self-reliant person off doing your own thing. But you know, that's really good news for rogues too, man, because I'm sure there's got to be some rogues out there frustrated trying to participate in these big team fights. Now they have this type of strat, right, where they can rank really effectively solo. It's awesome.
Yeah, man, it's been fun. My only issue with ranking so far has been oh, hold on a second.
Are you dispatching some gnome scum?
Yeah, pretty much.
How is Blizzard gonna fix the big PvP battle lag issues? I'm not sure, bro, but they're definitely tracking that these issues are there. So we'll see what they do about it. See what they do, what they would do about it. I think my favorite part about PvP so far, though, like what you were saying, Milkstick, the big brawls are fun, and it's great because you get to play with a lot of people and all this. But my favorite, most engaging PvP moments are those small skirmishes with a few people, man.
Definitely,
Just
man. Yeah.
2, 3.
Definitely, it feels like you just have so much more impact when you're able to defeat that, you know, like it beat whoever it is that you're going against. It just feels so much more satisfying, you know.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I was actually just talking with a good buddy of mine earlier. We were basically doing our thing, and we had a nice 2 versus 3 over a contested node, basically. And that right there was, for me, I was like, hell yeah, that's why I play this game. The opportunity to outplay was there, where it might not necessarily be present in like the larger kind of deathball play style where you got 40v40. This was a 2v3. This was Shadow Priest, Ellie Shaman versus Double Warrior Priest, and we came out on top of it, which was awesome. And it felt like it was something rewarding, which is what I, you know, in PvP, you know, the rewarding parts are getting the gear, you know, climbing the ranks, and then also those small wins that you take in the world right now. With the absence of battlegrounds, that's all we've got. And so, you know, claiming something for yourself, and if you have to prove your own skill to do so, that's the pinnacle, as far as I'm concerned, of World of Warcraft PvP.
Hell yeah. Wise words. Also, I should mention, guys, if you guys haven't recognized them already, these two gentlemen are part of, dare I say, the top Horde guild in the world. I mean, in NA certainly, right? I'm looking at least Molten Core speed, and progress is a thing of the past, right?
Well, I mean, no, actually, right now on Onslaught we have the #1 record for speed for Molten Core.
Oh, I think Progress took it though, 25-34.
I believe Progress did take it back.
Oh, damn, dude.
They took it back?
So you had it there for a day or two, yeah.
We are the best. We are the best Horde side, yeah.
Best Horde side.
But no, Progress took that back. And man, actually, Sasuke, you're on that speedrun team, man. I was gonna ask you about that, dude. So that was a whole thing, man. That was a very coordinated, last minute, getting everybody together in perfect execution. But you know, obviously, Progress had an extra day there to take it back, and they did. But how did that feel, man? Just for once, for those short 24 hours, I was making the point on on stream actually talking about it afterwards after you guys had. I was trying not to say anything about it, and it was the hardest thing to do because I knew it was happening, but I didn't want to say anything and jinx it. But for once, North America was on top, the best in the world. And you were a part of that speedrun squad, dude. So that, for me, that means a lot, you know?
That's an achievement, dog. That's crazy.
You know, honestly, man, I feel like I could have just done so much more to improve the run. You know, like I feel like I just wasn't doing it as much as I could have to really help the run go smoother. I mean, granted, looking back at everything, I think I did pretty okay, but I definitely saw like a lot of flaws in my play. Like I just felt like I was, because we were going so quickly. I didn't even realize that I was just behind on the pace, and so because of that, I just wasn't able to do as much damage as the next person. But it was really fun for sure being a part of a successful group. But even still, you just kind of focused on your own game, and you're just like really focused about how you can improve. It's not really about the record that was set, I guess, at least for me personally.
I was watching that VOD, dude, and if you the VOD is public, I think you can watch it on Alkazer's Twitch. I don't have the link on it, but you can probably find it. It looks like a meat grinder. Every time they pull shit into the pack, like I've never seen giants die that fast. It looks like they're freaking kobold, man. Like everything just melts, man. The pace is super on point. It's just definitely impressive. Under half an hour molten core clear. It's crazy. A lot of people from the beta in here too. I'm recognizing some names. AL, Fried, some good people in this raid, man. That's cool. That is cool. As far as the meta of PvP is concerned, though, on Scarum, where it's like maybe 80-20 Horde to Alliance, I assume it's pretty different from like one of those hotly contested 50-50, 60-40 type servers. My perspective on it is I feel like Alliance have had to group up a lot more. Maybe that was just yesterday. Maybe that's a day 1, day 0, D-Day thing, and maybe they'll spread out a little bit more. But the Alliance basically were forming these death balls and playing keep away with us and just hitting one spot, zerging through, killing everybody, and then as soon as one of the Horde premates catch up to them, they were just throwing up a portal and bouncing out and going somewhere else. How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, honestly, it seems like that is the meta even here in Ironforge, right? For the first, I want to say 7 hours, I was getting really, really good honor. I was getting a lot of kills, But as of recent, it's been fairly difficult, man. Every time I go to pick off an alliance, immediately 6, you know what I mean? Like just 5 or 6 of them show up, and it's been, I don't know, at least for the last 2 hours, it's been very difficult to pick up a kill. I'll pick them up here and there, but not even every time do I get, an honorable kill. And sometimes it's just an honorless target because they just got an Ironforge.
And how are you guys tracking your honor and ensure you're using Honor Spy, Honor Mate? I hear a lot of these things thrown out there. I'm a bit behind with the add-ons, and I think some people in the chat could benefit probably from knowing what add-ons you guys are running. Make sure you're on progress.
Right now, I'm just waiting. So the Honor tab should update. It should have updated already today. I don't know if that's a Blizzard thing. I'm not too concerned with that right now. I do use an add-on called Spy. All it basically does is just let me know enemy players nearby. And I'm trying to take as many 1v1s and 2v2s as I can. And then I'm also kind of gauging that versus what I'm getting out of the larger scale PvP. I was in South Shore for about 2 hours this morning. And one of the difficulties with that was the dishonorable kills, and no one quite knows how that's going to work out right now because dishonorable kills historically have subtracted from your rank points, and nobody has rank points yet. So next week they will certainly matter. This week we don't necessarily know how much they matter. We don't know if it's going to subtract from your total for the week. We don't know if you can just go ham with the dishonorable kills this week and it won't matter. But either way, it's been actually a pretty consistent thing with Alliance to be outnumbered, which is very frequent on Scarum. It's almost always the case. They retreat to places where they know there are a lot of civilians, and the Horde players that know how to recognize the civilians back off. So that's actually, I think, an appropriate way to handle it, because it forces the Horde to back off. It gives them an opportunity to regroup, and that's conducive for better PvP overall. As a Horde player on Skyrim, I'll make the statement right now to, first of all, I respect the hell out of all the Alliance players that stayed and didn't transfer off and that are still participating. Man, I really, really appreciate that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have anybody to play against right now. Kargoth, Sasuke, we wouldn't have anything to do.
It's actually so true, dude.
Yeah, man, you got to give those guys
honestly,
credit where it's due.
The credit is due for sure, man.
And those guys are getting fucking
players.
battle hardened by now. I'm telling you, man. They're getting used to this pummeling. Like the ones that are here are starting to not be the tourists. They're the people that can take the L's, can take the beatings and bounce back and not get discouraged. And there's some very worthy opponents out there, I gotta say.
I met a couple of really good, really quality Alliance players on Skyrim that I had never heard of, man. And occasionally they'll pop in my chat, or occasionally I'll just see them out in the world and I'll remember the name. They are certainly out there, and they certainly are on our server. They're probably on your server too, whatever server you are on watching this. They're out there too. You know, one of the things I like to say is that, like, people like to think they know who the best players are, but the reality is they only know who the best players are who stream or who upload to YouTube. You might encounter a player you've never heard of and probably won't see again who is just fantastic. Mm-hmm. And for me, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, honestly, it's always, you know, the person that you never heard of that you just kind of want to scoff at and kind of, you know, you just like, oh, it's some guy I've never heard of. But in vanilla, at least within the vanilla community, every time kind of, you know, you try and you know, throw away a player, it ends up biting you really hard. Most of the time, like, those players that you've never heard of are honestly just very, very well versed and experienced players, and they for sure know what's going on. You know, I remember just, you know, my first couple experiences with not Elysium, but what was after Northdale. You know, I got to like the mid-20s and I was just screwing around. But, you know, there's a bunch of people I never heard of before, and I just, like, every time I'd go for a 1v1 that I felt confident that I was going to beat, I just got absolutely dominated, you know, by these people I've never heard of before. And so, yeah, for sure, Milksteak, I absolutely agree. There's always there's always these hidden gems that exist within a private server community, at least.
Now, what?
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead, Carl.
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, it's exciting, man. It breeds this sense of competition that I think we're all kind of looking for, especially when we're on the dominant faction. It can get boring, man. It can get boring running around in a death ball. That's just the reality. It's, you know, when you have the opportunity to set up these nice encounters in the world where they just so candidly happens, you know, it like I said earlier, to Sasuke's point, it's way more rewarding as a player, taking your own ranking sort of scenario into your own hands and doing it yourself and not relying on anybody else but yourself.
No doubt. One thing I really like about vanilla PvP too is it really does feel dangerous, man. Like when you're out in the open world and you're rolling around and there's ambushes around every corner, like you feel I don't know, you really get into it when you're looking for another raid and they're looking for you, and there's so many like tactics that you would use IRL that can actually shine through in this game, and it never ceases to amaze me, man. Just the idea of having scouts and getting good intelligence and having, you know, people providing some sort of overwatch and thinking about logistically, you know, how to get people in your raid to your location, worrying about repairs, worrying about consumes. There's so much there's so much depth to it, man. There's so much juiciness to it. I really had a great time last night.
That was a ton of fun, man. No, I've been saying this for a long time. I think that I have a lot of friends who played retail. They played it really competitively, and you know, I always kind of made fun of them. Back when Nostarius was up, I encouraged them to come play on Nostarius. They kind of made fun of me for playing on a private server, and I'm like, you guys don't understand. This is the future. And at that time, you know, it was a bold statement to make, but now here we are. But I've
the past is the future.
Yeah, I know, man. It's crazy, and it's just crazy how far this whole thing has come at this point. especially people who have been playing on private service even before Nostalrius, and people who played in vanilla who just straight up quit after Cataclysm. But there's such a depth to this game, and that's, I think, what we need to help people understand is that, like, until you experience it, until you sort of explore that, the depth of, especially when it comes to PvP, there's so many little things, and I feel like a broken record here, but it's insane. Some of the stuff that you see on these YouTube videos and some of the things that you see on Twitch, from Perplexity to Stormex to Moo, like, these guys are innovators, and they've, even after the game has been out for 15 years, they're still figuring out new and exciting ways to do things. And that, for me, is just the coolest thing.
It is really cool, for sure. One thing I want to point out too, this current phase we're in, phase 2 to phase 3, is supposedly the era of world PvP, right? Once BGs come out in phase 3, would you guys agree that farming BGs, in an airtight pre-made is going to be pretty much just more efficient than farming on or out in the world? Let's start there. Right?
By far and away.
Definitely.
Right. So, with that said,
I feel like there's multiple reasons too, though. I would really like to be able to iterate it too. That there's actually multiple reasons as to why, honor farming in a BG pre-made is just so much more conducive to ranking. One, you don't have to, because it's multi-server, right? You don't have to wait on anyone. And then I think one of the biggest reasons too is because everyone there is there to PvP, and no matter what, you have 10 players, that you're playing against. And that really, really, makes it just so much easier to get honor, right? Whereas here, I'm trying to fight, oftentimes it's 1 versus 6, trying to just make a trade for 1 versus 1 and then run back and get another kill in the next 6 minutes or so. So I don't know. I'm really, 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 really excited for Warsong Gulch and Arathi Basin in particular.
Me too. But with that said, this is supposedly the era where even the super tryhard people like you, Sasuke, who's gonna be going for the 14, or people going for that clout staff or whatever. Even those people, they have to world PvP in order to get from point A to point B. They have to go world PvP. There's no BGs, right? So this is the era of world PvP, and it's cool. This is unlike any private server I've played on. This is a whole new little meta and world. You mentioned this the other day, Milksteak. Like, it's kind of a strange situation trying to min-max the world PvP side of things. But here we are. That's where we are right now. So where this is leading to is Benjamin Nickel in the chat asked a good question. He says, what are y'all's thoughts on the fastest ranking method, small group PvP versus massive raid groups, kill quantity versus quality? I'd like to come to some sort of consensus here, even if it's just from a gut feeling. What do you guys think is a superior or more efficient way to farm honor? Solo, from solo rogue in Ironforge to Death Ball.
That's an awesome question. So one of the things I'll say is that earlier today I was out in South Shore, and I was in a group of maybe 10 people, and South Shore was overrun with Horde, and the thought occurred to us. They said, hey, why don't we just figure out how to kill all these people and take most of the credit for it? So we basically ended up, I would say, to answer your question in short, there's no best way, but there are opportunities to do it and take advantage of certain opportunities that could be really beneficial. So for example, if you can find a way to, if you see a large group of Alliance clumped up and you find a way to get a good sapper charge off, in our case, it was suiciding into the town hall of South Shore and then rezzing on top of them when they weren't expecting it and sappering all of them and getting full credit for like 50 plus kills. That, and amongst 10 people, that's, 50 honor a kill, 30 to 50 honor a kill. There's that, there are ways to be clever about it.
Didn't you guys get like 4 dishonorable kills for it though?
I only got 2. Yeah, no, that was actually the majority of them were yesterday. Yeah, and that's the issue with going into South Shore is the DH case. But no, I would say that consumables kind of play into that, obviously, but thinking ahead, I would say, like recognizing, hey, there's this giant group of alliance that are condensed into the town hall because they can't come out because there's 18,000 horde on the outside, and they said, okay, how do we get on the inside? Well, we suicide inside, then we wait, then we res on top of them, and then we sapper all of them, and then we get full credit because it's 10 people sappering like 50. They all die, we all get full credit. Sure enough, the town hall is clear, and we're just waiting for them to respawn. And that was definitely the most efficient honor farm.
That was a nice little snack
experienced
right
thus
there.
far.
Yeah, I mean, so to answer your question too, Benjamin, ideally you'd be one person getting credit on hundreds of kills every second, right, and getting full honor. That would be the extreme. Ideally that would be the situation, right? But that's not something plausible. So ideally you want to be just striving to achieve some sort of honor per hour benchmark. Sasuke, I don't know if you've collected any of this data so far. I really have not been tracking it too carefully, but in the coming days and weeks, I think people are going to have certain honor per hour benchmarks in mind or something like that, and striving to stay at that level or higher, right? And just making adjustments on the fly, like all things in vanilla WoW. For a little bit, it may be advantageous to group up with some people, and maybe that's no longer advantageous and you splinter off into a smaller group. I would say one thing that we were doing yesterday, or at least hoping to do yesterday, was to have a larger force of maybe 20 people who are all ranking together, who could come together in deathball if need be, but can splinter off into smaller kind of little squad size or team size elements and go off into the open world and come together if it makes sense to do so.
Honestly, I think the latter of those two suggestions is probably the best bet. Just have this group of 20 who's all split up into 4 packs. Honestly, it feels like for me, if I'm able to consistently get a couple of kills here and there, I think that it's been in like groups of 3 or 4, and then anything past that, it kind of starts to feel like you're getting like you're getting less than 50 honor a kill, and it kind of starts to feel like you may as well just be in a deathball group. So I think if you're gonna group, I would say no more than 4 people is the best bet, unless you're going for like one of those deathball kind of groups.
One thing and that's an awesome point, dude. Because one thing I'll add is that honor grinding and ranking it's more about consistency. It's like you said, and you put it perfectly earlier, Sasuke. It's how long can you go? How long can you last? And one of the other things that I'll add is that if you're playing with your friends, if you're enjoying yourself in smaller groups, you're going to be playing for longer. You're going to be more successful. You're going to be encouraging each other, and it's going to be more beneficial for you in ranking in the long run. I would say don't set your sights on rank 14 unless you've been there and done that, which a lot of you guys might have done. Maybe the majority of you might not have. I personally haven't, and so it's one of those things where my goal is not to hit rank 14. My goal is to see how far I can go, and I find that playing with my friends and playing in smaller groups and just playing more consistently is going to be way more beneficial overall.
No, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. With that in mind too, if you're thinking about consistency and quality of life and big picture, how do you guys feel about if you do have to AFK, or let's say you can only play at like a 10% level because you're paying your bills on your other screen, you're on a phone call, you're on a conference call, you're doing other stuff. That happened to me a couple times yesterday, and being able to put someone on follow and still get a little bit of chip honor here and there, because I was still getting some honor, was pretty juicy. Or maybe in that situation you kind of just AFK in the big death ball that is South Shore Hills, Brad, and just soak a little bit. Is that not worth, or what do you guys think about that?
Oh, I think that's absolutely worth it. If you have to AFK, any free honor is good honor. Even if it's just 7, it's 7 more honor than you would have had. You got to look at it like that, and that it's just way easier.
Night Elf racial for the win on soaking HKs. I bet that's probably pretty true. Yeah, just fucking chill out at the big South Shore battle, man. Come back later with a couple thousand honor.
And a lot of these things, like I would also say, don't get too concerned with stuff right now, because the world PvP ranking is feeling fairly unnatural especially on unbalanced servers right now. Once battlegrounds come out specifically, you'll find your rhythm. you'll figure out how much you can play, how much honor you're getting, and you'll know when you got to turn it up, and you'll be able to schedule yourself accordingly. If that's your goal, you'll find a way to make it happen.
So what is your schedules right now with regard to ranking? I feel like Sasuke's going the hardest out of us right now. Do you have a strict thing you're sticking to, bro?
I don't, honestly. I'm just kind of doing whatever and seeing how far.
So there's no way to know kind of at what bracket you're in or anything like that in a week one type of scenario. Like you just have to go as hard as possible and cross the fingers.
Yeah, honestly, it seems like that's the case right now. I downloaded Honor Spy, but it's not working at all, and I've clicked on a bunch of different people, so I don't really know what to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't already know, Honor Spy is a really great add-on that allows you, once you click on anyone in the world, whether they're Horde or Alliance, as soon as you click on them, it downloads all of their data on how much honor they've gathered for the week, and then you can use that to determine brackets.
Gotcha. And do you have any general sense of how have you just been PvPing since 2 o'clock yesterday?
Me, no. I've only managed to get like 6 or 7 hours in, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, man, it's right now working 2 part-time jobs. I got 50 hours a week amongst between them, so it's just been it's been a little difficult, to maintain my gaming balance as well as the work balance. But if it takes a little bit longer to get rank 14, it's going to take longer. I'm still going to do it though. Determined.
My concern though, so there is a decay, right? You guys have probably most of you have heard about this decay. Every week you will lose a bit of your progress, and you have to, as you get to the higher ranks, you have to do more to keep up with that decay, right? But maybe in these earlier ranks, decay isn't too big of a deal. And do you guys have any thoughts? Like, is there a certain rank you get, like let's say a rank 10 or something like that, and at that point you really have to turn it on and play a lot more aggressively to keep up?
Honestly, Milksteak Lol knows more about about this than I do. So.
Yeah, I could speak this a little bit. So it definitely gets a little bit more. You're exactly right, Kargaz. Like the heat turns up once you get past 10. You start to feel it from 9 to 10. If you're a semi-casual player or like a casual hardcore player, and by that I'm quantifying it as maybe 6 hours at the minimum you're dedicating to PvP every day. That's not going to get you to rank 14. I'll just tell you guys right now.
Mm-hmm.
It turns up past rank 10 specifically. The 10 to 11 hump, and then the 11 to 12 hump is even worse. You're going to be looking at 12 hours, 14 hours. And then past that, and we're not also, do not forget that you have to be winning the majority of your games, if not all of them. You have to make sure the players you're playing with are all like-minded and you're getting the most out of every single battleground you're playing. That's why you see when a pre-made versus pre-made match happens, and they're both contending pre-mades for bracket 1 spots, it's very intense because losing one single game is enough to set you off. You have personalities in there that are often very competitive, combined with the fact that you're on the clock. If you're looking to play 16 hours a day with the same people every day, you start to get sick of each other. So there's a mental fortitude that goes along with it, as well as a time commitment, as well as a personal skill level that has to be present. And that's the thing. That is the reality of that's not measurable on a statistic board. That's not pointed towards a rating, like an arena rating, for example. That's just you as a player have to be ready for that. If that's the grind you want to take, anything past rank 10, it requires a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that when I finished ranking on Lights Hope, I was playing 12 hours a day. We were winning the vast majority of our games, if not all of them. I was playing with extremely good players, and we were at least bracket 1. We did lose and go bracket 2 a couple times, and that slowed us down quite a bit, and it added an extra week or 2 weeks to the people that we were propping up for those rank 14 weapons sitting at rank 13. It makes a huge difference, and I haven't personally gone past 12 myself. There was no incentive to go 13 or 14, but I know friends that have. I know quite a few. and it's a grind and a half. You're looking at 3 months plus, 3 months at the minimum. And Lizanta is another great person to talk about this. Someone who's done it multiple times, all the way to 14, and he can tell you better than I can that it's not just a game of hours, and it's not just a sitting down and playing. It's mental warfare. After a while, you start to go insane. Like, you really do.
I believe it. I mean,
Truly do.
remember back launch week, dude? Launch week, or the even the launch weeks, like the first two till we killed Rag right, maybe day 9 or something like that. That was probably the hardest I've ever gone. Out of any video game, dude. You started to go fucking crazy, like you said. Like, you started to people were getting on each other's nerves. We had dungeon cleaves that were falling apart. I mean, we got there, right? But I can only imagine doing that for 3 months, like you said, Milks. Like, that's got to be that's nutty. That's insane. My question is, though, do you think it's going to be easier or harder than on private servers to rank? My suspicion is I'll tell you what I think. And chat, chime in here too, because there's got to use your hive mind to our advantage. But so, just the high level of the honor system. Kill a bunch of people, you get a bunch of honor. On Tuesdays or whatever, whenever the reset is, all that honor goes into a contribution score for the week. That contribution score is ranked amongst the other players that also have contribution scores, and you're given ranking points, right? And there's brackets set up on the total amount of ranking points. So like a bracket 1, which is the highest tippy top bracket, is, I don't know if you have the numbers off, it's like 0.1% of the player base, let's say, and it goes down from there. But it's kind of percentage based, so that could be a super high honor cap, or it could be potentially super low if everybody wanted to play ball, or if it was a small population server for some reason with not a lot of rankers. That bracket 1 theoretically could be a very low honor cap, and I'm thinking to myself, on these servers that aren't international, right? Like, you're gonna have actual off-peak hours. You're not gonna have Chinese players, Russian players, American players. You're not going to have that. Is it possible that we're going to see less aggressive, honor thresholds, and maybe it becomes easier to get rank 14? What do you guys think?
Well, as time continues, right, there's less and less people PvPing and less competitive, you know what I mean? There's a less and less competitive pool, right? So, eventually brackets become smaller and smaller and easier to make, to attain.
True.
So I think that the longer that time goes, the easier it is to get to rank 14. And for those players that are, getting to rank 14 as part of the Gen 1 rankers, generally speaking, I would say that those are the best players on those servers.
Yeah, I think the Generation 1 rankers definitely have it the hardest. There's also, you have to keep in mind that honor is just relative amongst your own faction. So it could be, it just depends on how competitive your friends are on the server. The people who are playing as much as you generally want to be grouping with. And the people who are effective and are winning games, this Battlegrounds, or the people who are, very effective. You expect someone in Orgrimmar who's got 3,000 HKs right now. You want to ask them what they're doing, where they're farming at, where the people are at, because those are the people that are going to take bracket 1. And if you want to be in bracket 1, then you have to play with them and play alongside them.
Very, very wise words. Yeah. So find the people that are doing it the best and hit them up and try and roll with them, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, it's the best idea, dude. Yeah, it's honestly really, really good advice. Fine. Let's see. Like anything in life, right? You find the guy at the top of the game and start to pick at his brain and see what he's doing and learn from him.
No doubt. That is super good advice. Someone's asking if it's faction based or realm based. It's faction based within your realm, so the Alliance are going to have their own for where we play on the Scarum server. Like, it's going to be night and day, the difference between Alliance ranking and Horde ranking, and we're going to have our own separate honor caps and all that. Even when there's cross-realm implemented and there's Battlegrounds and stuff, you're still only going to be competing for rank 14 within players on your realm within your own faction. Do you believe account sharing will be a big problem? That's something, I don't know if you guys have heard many rumblings about this or if this was an issue on private servers. You know, I wonder how effective it is. People are messaging me saying that you can bring a couple accounts out there and just freaking DR each other out on honor and go back and forth. And I mean,
well, the enemy of ranking is sleep. I mean, it was definitely prevalent on prior servers. And it also becomes especially prevalent when Alterac Valley is the meta. So, for example, on Light Soap, we didn't see an Alterac Valley meta, and on Northdale we did, where the majority of people towards the end of the server life were basically just ranking in Alterac Valley and account sharing and basically taking turns sleeping and then logging on and then sleeping and someone else would play for you. So it has been prevalent in the past. Part of that might be because of the unorthodox like terms of service, and you know, it's a private server, so it's not a Blizzard server. Blizzard has very specific rules against account sharing. They also have specific tools to combat account sharing, and so I would imagine and I would hope that it would be less of an issue, but it is a reality of ranking because, as I said, the only thing that's stopping you from farming more than somebody else is the fact that everybody's got to sleep at some point. Whether you go to sleep by choice or whether you pass out face first on your keyboard, your ass is gonna go down eventually.
True, though. Very true. More wise words. Yeah, you will go down, no matter how motivated you are. Even Sasuke, dude. What's your breaking point? Every man has his breaking point, dude. You're only so many hours you can chill in Ironforge.
You know, as hardcore as I am, honestly, you know, I really want to give a shout out to Chris, Fakes, and Show. Those guys are...
Yeah, man.
Monsters, to say the least, man. Those guys keep going and going.
They don't sleep, dude. They're nuts. I was playing with them this morning, man. They don't fuck around.
And they're fucking big pumpers on this. On this 27-minute run, I still have it up here. They're at the very top of the fucking heaps, dude, man. Like, just overall damage, all encounters, all phases. Like, they're at the very tip of the spear.
I mean, that's... And again, I'll go back to my point. You guys want to surround... If you guys are serious about PvP, surround yourself with the people that are also serious about PvP. It could be your friends. It doesn't necessarily have to be the people who are at the top of Warcraft logs. It could be the people around you. You notice the same person a couple times in World PvP, and you recognize that they're willing to take fights and they're willing to scrap. You know, they're not bitch boys. And immediately, especially with Show, I've noticed immediately he's the kind of guy who props people up around him, and he's the kind of guy that does not quit. And those are the people, and in my experience, those are the guys that you're gonna see with claymores and with high warlord war axes, and those are the guys that you wanna play with if you're serious about this.
I want to kind of get into another topic here that a lot of people, it's on my mind. I need to have a better understanding of this and a better, you know, tactical awareness when it comes to this type of shit. You're gonna die. You're going to get wiped, right? Whether it's by another raid or a 1v1 or whatever. What is your strategies? Do you guys have strategies that come to mind on how to recover from that L, to regroup, reform, or run away? I'm sure there's a basket of strategies that you keep, because there's not just one solution, right? You know, my go-to has been throw on an invis pot and freaking run. But even that can be ineffective. If they have a warlock or something, they'll detect it and they'll come get you.
Are you referring to like when you get camped or something like that, or are you just saying like you just kind of get wiped by a raid?
So I think I take res sickness too often because I'm too trigger happy. I wipe and I know the repercussions. I know how bad it can be in my mind if they are set up around the graveyard. Then you're really fucked, right? So I'm too trigger happy to take res sickness and try and immediately reform, not die in a you know, a slow death over and over again and make that more painful, but to immediately take res sickness. But I think I do it too much.
I'd say that if you're talking in terms of large scale world PvP, I'll talk in terms of like larger groups, kind of like what we were doing last night, Cargos. Angles, man, angles. Find a different point of attack. oftentimes people will kind of just you guys ever been to a metal show? I don't know if you guys are metalheads at all. But if you go to a metal show and you go to like a death metal show or a hardcore, go see a hardcore band, it's the wall of death, right? It's basically just a bunch of people that just run headfirst into each other for the fuck of it, right? Because they love it.
Yeah, because they're just thrashers, dude, and they're like thrashing.
That works. That works if you're the big D group. That works if you outgear them, you outconsume them, etc., etc. But if you lose and you're respawning, find a different angle. Find a way to come in through the back door. You know, slip in the DMs. You know.
But how do you escape out of their talents? How do you recover from that first wipe? It's very, very tough if people set up all around you in every direction and they stagger themselves out.
Consumables can help in that situation. I've seen where entire raid groups spawn an invis-bot and disperse. I've seen raid groups where they find a clever spot, use the terrain to your advantage, find a clever spot where everybody can res, and then disperse, and then regroup someplace else. That's basically my go-to strategy. But I would say more than anything, just find and wait. Obviously, patience comes into play, but just wait and then find an opportunity to spawn somewhere that's inconspicuous and then disperse. It makes it harder for them. Obviously, dispersing helps against like sapper charges, which is very common in large-scale world PvP. Some of your guys are going to get picked off again. Some of them aren't. And then take your time and regroup and then come back.
True. Another thing I'm thinking right now too, on a server like ours where we have the numbers and by a large margin, if you do get wiped, you know, stay cool, stay calm, stay collected, and put the bat signal out in guild, in world. And there's usually one thing we noticed from yesterday's fights is that there's usually another huge Zug raid just around the corner somewhere, right? Like somehow, like you're just walking around, you turn the corner and there's a freaking raid right there. So if you can put out that information into world or whatever, get some reinforcements to come through and then spawn alongside them as they engage that force that just wiped you. That's something we should keep in. We should potentially do.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, I think the one thing to take away from, you know, when you get wiped and stuff like that is honestly, it's just to teach yourself how to not take it to heart, you know, because if you can get killed 20, 30 times in a row, and you know, you keep at it, you keep being persistent, and you're patient with it, it's gonna reward you. You know, the game is a game about time commitment. You know, how much time are you willing to invest into the game, rather than the immediate and the best result possible at the first, you know, possible juncture. So I think that's more so what you should be taking out of, you know, when doing PvP and ranking, is that you just need to understand that you are going to die. It doesn't matter how good of a player you are. Eventually you're going to get overwhelmed, or maybe you're going to make a mistake because you've been doing it for 7-8 hours at a time. You know, it's just about time commitment rather than the immediate results.
No, it makes total sense. Yeah, I mean, if you, I would say the same thing about a lot of things in life too, whether it be streaming or just starting a company or whatever. You got to be patient and think big picture and just keep chipping away. I think most things in life can just be achieved with consistency. Unless you're in some stuff, you might have to be just an absolute huge throbbing brain to do. But you know, most things you can get there if you just chip away at it and put the time in.
It's true, man. You know. But yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like at least for the first parts of World of Warcraft Classic, you know, I think more so than anything, it's just really, really about that time commitment.
Yeah. It certainly is. What do you guys predict to be? Oh wait, I didn't get your thoughts on this, Sasuke. Do you think it's going to be easier or harder than on private servers to rank to 14?
I think it'll be much easier. I think there's a couple of factors, right? One, on private servers, it was more of a world community, and in that, like, you know, you had the people from China, or from the, you know, oh my god, from the eastern region. Thank you. That was really hard for me to say. The eastern region, you got people from, you know, Russia and that Far East area as well. You got all of Europe, and you got the U.S. as well as a couple of Brazilians and stuff like that, all playing on one server. And so because of that, the honor pool is much, much, much deeper, in my opinion. And as well, you have people working around the clock, farming honor rather than just one, one faction or section of the world.
Mm-hmm. That's are you on the same page with that, Milkstick? Or do you think it's gonna be
Yeah.
about the same?
No, I agree. I think it's going to be a little bit easier on Blizzard Classic, but I will say it definitely depends on your server. There's high concentrations of people who have been doing this for years on private servers on specific servers,
Mm-hmm.
specifically in Europe, and I'm also looking at Herod, US, Faralina, US, so I wouldn't anticipate it being much easier on those servers. I will say that it might end up being easier on PvE servers, specifically right now, because the majority of players, I think, again, honor is relative. So if you don't have big access to PvP, the little amount of PvP that you do end up incurring will count for more. And they don't really have a consistent source of honor until battlegrounds come out. So those guys that are organized and are out basically farming will see their bracket 1 spot. It really just comes down to how hard is it going to be to consistently hit bracket 1, and if they can do that week after week without much contest, then they will hit rank 14 faster, essentially. And so on servers where people understand how ranking works and people are competitive, it will be much harder. And on servers where people are either disinterested in PvP, those guys are going to find themselves in bracket 1 spots when they might not necessarily be intentionally seeking it. So,
No, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think I don't want to undersell the time commitment because it's going to take months and months and months of effort for most people to get to a pretty high rank. But at the same time, I do think it will be considerably easier than the private servers. I mean, so the population on like Skyrim or something. I wonder what it is. Like, is it less than? So Northdale had about 10K for a while. I was hovering. It would go a little bit below and above that. Do you think we're in a similar kind of servers? Anybody have any guesses how big these servers are? These one-layer servers? Because I don't know. I feel like it would be a smaller server compared to like Northdale or some of those mega international servers. So you have that, and then the time zone. Like for example, with Skyrim, we have Invictus. We have obviously Onslaught. Imagine we got like the four or five of the top horde guilds together, and we're able to coordinate. Look, here's what bracket 1 is going to be. Is there a chance that we could play ball and make that work and make the grind not as traumatizing, or is that a pipe dream and not even possible?
Well, here's a sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Not a fake Christian show of anything to say about it. There's just going to be players like those guys right there that they want to be bracket 1, and you're not gonna change their minds. And there are also those players that are dedicated enough to really mess with those brackets. And to say that there's only 3 people per server, I feel like is a little bit glass half full kind of guy. It's a little bit optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's as few as just 3 players who are willing to break brackets. And that's part of the reason why the honor grind is so friggin' hard, is because you have players like those guys who are just willing to spend 15-20 hours a day farming honor, and there's nothing you can say or do that's going to make them stop farming.
True.
So.
True. Yeah.
Well, think about it from like, let's take Skyrim, right, where it's 80-20. Think about it in terms of like, you've got this big lake of fish, right? And we're fish, right? We're the horde, but let's call ourselves piranhas or sharks. And they're throwing spears into the lake, and every single spear they throw, because it's like 10 million fish in this lake, one of them is gonna, what I mean? So they have what I'm trying to say is the Alliance on Skyrim have an access to a much larger pool of honor. So those guys on Alliance side on Skyrim that are interested in ranking are going to have more than enough horde to farm, basically, to go out and kill. But from the horde perspective, we are actively seeking Alliance. In fact, we are actively going into major cities and camping places where we know there won't be guards, because we are starving for Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very interesting situation we have on our server specifically, but on a server that's balanced, we're going to see a very traditional even split between Horde and Alliance, and it's going to be the better player wins type situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of
better faction wins, perhaps.
A lot of moving pieces here, man. A lot of moving pieces here. That's why I'm trying not to fixate too much on the rank. I'm gonna put in. I think as far as my schedule goes, I'm gonna try and put in a consistent 5 to 6 hours per day for PvP. It's gonna take prio over raiding and stuff. I'll still probably raid and get in there, but you know, probably gonna focus all money and all that into the PvP side of things, and see what happens. See what kind of results we can get from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the biggest thing, you know, in terms of like cost is concerned, I think that if you're new to ranking and you play any class, free action potion is your best friend. I think that it's one thing we haven't really talked about yet, which is, you know, what are the best consumes really to use, right? And I think bandages and free action potions, I think, are the most valuable PvP items you can get.
Yeah, I'll add limited invulnerability potions to that as well.
I will add as a warlock
especially.
swiftness, dude. Swiftness is my favorite warlock. I mean, favorite consume. Just because we don't have escape, right? It's tough for us to get away, and or catch up. We just have classes that have low mobility. Really benefit from it.
Yeah, and don't think that just because you're using consumables in world PvP, that does not make you. It's not a crutch. You should be using them. If anything, you know, it's a crutch, or you're just doing yourself a disservice to not have them. Consumables are very much a part of vanilla World of Warcraft, specifically in PvP, and they're there for a reason. Use them. They don't make you a worse player. They don't make you. Doesn't diminish your prowess, so to speak, as a player. It's just foolish to not make the most of them. It's one of those things, you got to farm for them, you got to use them, because like I had mentioned earlier, if you're not and you come across a player who is, you're gonna get dumpstered. It's just that simple.
Yep. No, I'm on the same page.
I'm definitely one of those players that's going to use consumes, and I'm going to use any consume that I can. Whether that's a $300 consume like a flask, you know, of the Titans, or it's or if it's just, you know, flash powder, you know, I'm going to be that player that has those items. So, you know, you got to make sure that you're also that player that does. Otherwise, I'm gonna win.
It's true. It's true. Moving on to a spicy topic here too. I'm curious because I want to do dual tournaments with this format and to see how it goes. Because to my understanding, I don't know if it's ever been attempted before, but twos teams. We can move into group PvP and stuff like that too. But if you're gonna roll around the world and let's say a two or three man little squad, we're theorizing that may be one of the best ways to get honor, and you are gonna partner up with some people. What are your guys' opinions? And it's a question for the chat too on some of the strongest twos teams, threes team. What are you drinking there, bro? What is that?
Got a nice little Sam Adams, dude.
Oh, Sam Adams, the winter one.
No,
Oh, no.
I got the variety pack this time actually.
Costco.
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
If you're not shopping at Costco, you're basically world PvPing or PvPing in general without consume.
You know you're adulting hard when you're a card carrying Costco member.
Oh, I am.
Tell you.
And I'll pull out my Costco card right now, dude.
Right?
Don't make me do it.
Don't. You got the executive membership, bro?
No,
I got the club one too. I got the.
It's the business membership.
Oh damn, the business one.
Yeah. Company pays for it. Man.
Oh jeez, man.
Ooh.
Just got sun, dude. You getting all the discounts. Yeah, man. To get all that rank.
All that means is I don't pay for the membership. I still have to pay for the groceries. I actually made that mistake. I thought the company would pay for my groceries. I was wrong.
That's funny, dude. Well, I have my opinions, but I'm curious, and I assume your comps are gonna be favored towards your own classes, but
Definitely.
let's see what you guys think.
So, that's actually a really good question because it's a thought that I've had quite a few times thinking about, like for twos and threes specifically. So as it turns out, Shadow Priest, Ellie Shaman, Warrior, Ellie Resto, and then Warrior is like damn near unstoppable if you're And then I would probably say like Shadow Priest, Holy Pally Warrior would be close for 3s. And for 2s, either Eli Resto Warrior. Obviously, the Warrior is just gets so much benefit from like Shamans and Warriors go together like bread
Peanut
and
butter
butter.
and jelly.
Yeah, exactly. But outside of that, because that's sort of, I think, and it might not be obvious for everybody, but for me, it was one of the obvious synergies. Excuse me, but one of the other synergies that I've really enjoyed recently is Shadow Priest Ellie Shaman. It's so good, and here's why. So, and think about priests are very, very important in Classic WoW. So, on Alliance side, you have defensive and offensive dispels. Paladins providing the defensive, and priests providing the offensive and defensive dispels. However, on Horde side, you only have priests for defensive dispels. Period. Shamans only provide offensive. So priests are very, very, very important Horde side. One of your biggest vulnerabilities as a class that doesn't have access to dispels is polymorph, as it turns out. Kargos, you play Warlock, so you
I
have
was
your
just
own.
about to say, yeah.
Sasuke, you have a million tools to get out of polymorph between Vanish, Kick, Gouge, etc. But as a shaman, you have Grounding Totem and Earth Shock, and a good mage is going to bait both of them. So I think that having a priest as a shaman has been amazing for that specific reason. Having those defensive dispels and then 2 sources of offensive dispels, plus having the priest be shadow adds the blackout stun, extra pressure, fear bomb. We have slows with shaman. We have incredible burst potential. It's been awesome, actually. I've been running it for a couple days in the crater, and it's just been tons of fun. We're taking 2v3s, 2v4s, and basically having no issues. So
I'd like to chime in there too. I really see a lot of benefit, whether in any aspect of the game, like when it comes to forming the perfect dungeon cleave or whatever, having multiple sources of healing and not being. I don't know if that is that big of an impact from your perspective as someone who heals, but I just feel like having multiple characters that are capable of healing just gives you so much extra gas and sustain, and the fact that both of those classes, can heal and still put out the pain, it's got to be very, very tough. Like, they pretty much probably just have to finish you off in one huge tempo burst, or you guys are going to be able to recover and just outlast damn near anybody. What about you, Sasuke? What's your vote for 2s and 3s best comps?
Honestly, I think Milksteak, well, it's pretty accurate. I think if you're going the Alliance side, it's going to probably involve a Paladin and a Shadow Priest. And I mean, if you have a Paladin, the best way to enable a Warrior is a Paladin, so you may as well just throw the Warrior in the mix.
Mortal Strike also. I mean,
yeah, Mortal Strike is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I think if we're not going based off of solely what the best comps are, I think that if we're going for like Rogue specifically, I think the best 3s composition would probably be something like a Rogue Druid, right? You have one Rogue who's Hemorrhage spec, the other Rogue is Dagger spec, and then you have the Druid who's like this hybrid between healing and damage, and he just kind of flows between all 3, melee DPS, caster DPS, as well as healing. I'm just kind of feeling this kind of like off void role that I don't know, you just wouldn't be able to kind of fill unless you had a Druid.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Actually, the double rogue is also one thing that's terrifying.
Terrifying, yeah, that does sound very terrifying. yeah, you need to be very prepared to survive that. 2 rogues opening up on you guys. I think. What about a 2s team, Sasuke?
For a 2s team, I think that's a little bit tough. I just don't think that rogues have enough tools to be able to be the best 2v2ers. I think honestly, I'd still just kind of rely on another, like if I'm a rogue, just rely on another dagger rogue. Just because you could sap whoever the healer is potentially, unless it's a paladin. But even still, you're gonna go for that sap, and then you're gonna try and coordinate their ambush with your cold blood eviscerate after the cheap shot to just kind of burst them down from around 80% health. And then if you can't really do that, then you're probably just dead. Especially if you're going against something like a priest. I just don't really see too much being able to it's just so hard to burst through priest bubbles, heals, and everything that a priest is able to provide, especially on the alliance side.
Yeah, I mean, the timing of a rogue opener is part of the reason why I never really pursued rogue that much, is because, like, dude, when you open on a rogue, you are so exposed. Like, you have so little time to make so many decisions, and you have to execute so well in like a competitive environment, dude. It's gotta be. I mean, you know better than I, Sasuke, but it's gotta be just. I mean, unless you know exactly what you're doing and you're 100% confident, you know exactly what to do, and you know your execution is on point, there's so much room for error.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, for sure. You know, even to this day, I still I go watch my VODs of myself playing, and I just catch all these mistakes that I'm doing. Like, there's a lot of, I think a lot of what Rogue is all about, surprisingly, is just patience. You know, it's just really being patient enough to wait. Because I feel like every single Rogue player, whether they're new to Rogue or very well versed with Rogue, they know when they can pick a fight that they know they're going to win. You know that fight exists. It's just about learning how to wait for that opportunity and being able to find these little, like, as you get more and more experience, being able to find these more risky opportunities and to take advantage of those. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right though in that once a rogue is out of stealth, the rogue is most exposed.
I really like your comp with the threes comp with the druid and the two rogues. I see, in a BG it would be a different beast, but in a meta like this, in world PvP, you can escape when you wipe together as a unified little unit pretty easy, with your stealth capabilities, and you can really pick and choose your fights. And that seems so strong that you all have that stealth condition, and being able to just have high uptime because you can slip away and disengage and re-engage together, and you are all very aligned in how you do damage, and I don't know, it seems very powerful. I'd be scared to go up against it. I think my vote on the 2 side, based on just my playstyle, would be Warlock Paladin. Now, I'm a Horde player, but I feel like Warlock Paladin is pretty much CC immune, and the Paladin just being able to provide just such a wealth of powerful, like, irreversible defensive cooldowns and stuff when you have stuff like bubble and bop and lay on hands. It's just in so much powerful defensive tools. It would just be so hard to break them. I feel like they have so much gas in the tank as a Paladin Warlock. The Paladin with the defensive dispel, the Warlock with the offensive or defensive dispel, Blessing of Sacrifice as well, another layer of CC immunity to the equation. I feel like that's pretty terrifying, and my second choice would be Troll Priest and Warlock. That's something I'm looking to explore. I haven't.
Why particularly Troll Priest?
I love it. I feel like I love Hex of Weakness, man. I think OG Haptics was skeptical when I was talking to him about it. He was scratching his head a little bit, like, is that really going to be that high impact? But I'm very excited to explore this thing with another curse, right? So Hex of Weakness, I'm like a broken record at this point. You guys are familiar with what it does, right? Like the Mortal Strike effect is one aspect of it, but it is a curse, right? So it allows you to layer on a curse of your choice as a warlock much more effectively. Like, it can only druids and mages can remove that curse, right? So if you throw on a tongues, right, Milksteak, as a shaman how annoying tongues can be.
Brutal.
You throw on a tongues and you also have a Hex of Weakness on top of that, bruh, is there even a point to try and take that shit off when you're 2 globals behind? When you have this, it costs like 10 mana to throw it up, lasts for 2 minutes. That's infinity. 2 minutes is forever. Yeah, you get the Mortal Strike effect on it, so that's super high impact. You can just blanket everybody up with those, throw up any curse of your choice, and the Hex of Weakness. Blackout's pretty sick with the Shadow Guard, and I don't know, it'd be cool. In like a small 2v2 kind of close encounter, maybe the finesse of having Wodif there, something like that, may prove to be more valuable. But I feel like with Warlock Priest, you have the gas in the tank to survive through and possibly get more value from the troll stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I definitely think that the Paladin is better, but I think the Troll Priest actually is not. After hearing your thought process behind it, it's definitely pretty up there.
Yeah, just you know, also mages. I've said it before. Have some of the highest impact globals, right? Like whatever battleground they're in, whether it be Arathi or Warsong, they're always doing high impact shit. Whether it's slowing people down, just novaing people and stuff like that. Is the mage going to be spending globals decursing if you're throwing up all these curses left to right? Probably not, man. And the druid's kind of on autopilot doing his own thing, running the flag or whatever. He's not really going to be decursing. So I am really, really excited and determined to try and build out a spell cleave team to run war songs with. And to go really, really caster heavy, have elemental shamans, multiple priests, multiple mages, warlocks, and to see how well it can do.
I think one of the things that, and I've always kind of really liked the idea of running a caster cleave, but I think the reality of it is Alliance warriors are so strong for a couple of reasons. When you have paladins involved, warriors are very frustrating to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Paladins themselves are really frustrating to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And more often than not, in my experience, I've seen very melee heavy group comps, with druids actually being fairly underrepresented. So maybe utilizing druids a little bit more effectively in that caster comp, maybe that could be an advantage over something like that. And specifically in Warsong Gulch, having more than one druid gives you the opportunity to have an auxiliary flag carrier. I know I've filled that role as a shaman even, and I've, you know, run the routes the same way a druid would run them. But one of the things I've found when it comes to playing against, in Arathi Basin, it's especially true. It seems like that melee is king. So the question I would ask is, how are you going to be able to mitigate that brute force front line with a caster comp?
It'd be rough, man. It'd be rough. But what I would say is that for me, as the warlock sitting midfield, because I have this determined spec I want to play, being able to throw up tongues on all the healers and pretty much every caster, being able to throw up tongues that are actually going to stick to them. I hope will be very, very annoying and frustrating for them to deal with, right? They can bubble out of it or do whatever they got to do, but at the same time, if that stuff can really stick, because I don't know if you guys would agree, but Curse of Tongues in particular is an S tier debuff to remove. That is crippling, man. It is very, very crippling, right? Maybe
it shuts numerous classes down entirely, shamans included, because shamans on their own, if you're a warlock player, and honestly, I don't want to say this because I don't want to give you guys any ideas, but when I see Curse of Agony, I get excited because I know that it's not Curse of Tongues, because shamans don't have the ability to remove curses off themselves. That's why I oftentimes like to play with mages. And it basically makes it so your playstyle becomes totems and shocks. You're not casting anything.
Pretty much. And if you're throwing that up on all the paladins and priests, and mages actually don't get impacted by Curse of Tongues as much as you might think, because a lot of mage PvP is spamming instant cast, whether it's just Fire Blast or Nova or Cone or Arcane Explosion. So, I mean, yeah, they'll get affected by it, but not as much as throwing it up on shamans, paladins, freaking priests, stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I very much feel you, and it could be the type of thing where maybe it's not as impactful as I hope, but I did have a bunch of episodes. I did this PvP workshop with Takanashi and Sarana for many weeks. We talked about it, and they described to me that this Chinese pre-made they went up against back during NOST, when they said the honor caps were like 1.3 mil, and it was just these insane, you know, China wars as they called them. And the strongest pre-made they ever went up against was a caster cleave, and it just felt so hopeless going up against them, and that just I got so turned on by that. I was like, wow, I want to try that, man. I want to try and flesh that out. But
yeah, no, it's a very interesting idea, and I think that there's some potential in it. The execution has to be perfect, though.
Yeah, I was about to, just say that in that, like, while the caster cleave on paper seems very strong, it seems like one of those compositions that execution wise is probably going to be the most difficult, because being able to properly maintain distance against somebody who's immune to snares and slows for 30 seconds is going to be extremely difficult. Not to mention you have to coordinate the priest to be spamming dispels on players like that this entire time.
Yeah, no, that definitely true. Also a real concern about running it is the speed at which you can win games too, right? Because you have to win these games pretty quickly. Ideally, right? Ideally, you just assert dominance and freaking win the game in 1 second and go next. But you know, if you have this kind of attrition based, you know, unbreakable sort of comp, maybe you're not winning games fast enough. All stuff will you know, TBD. We'll figure it out real soon when Phase 3 comes out. Super excited to run that though. Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited to see how it works out. I mean, I love to see that kind of stuff, man. I really do, because honestly, when it comes to BGs, there is certainly a meta, and the meta usually involves heavy amounts of warriors and shamans, or heavy amounts of warriors and paladins, and so anything outside of that, I'm really enthusiastic to see. One thing I will say about caster comps, though, is that I think that, at least theoretically, it should be easier to split reses, which might make it a little bit easier to finesse some sort of thing. Like, it's more of an attrition play style, but you have more control overall. And with more control comes the opportunity to kind of split those reses in between respawns, which I think could be an avenue you could pursue with that. But we'll have to see, man.
Yeah, no, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Yeah, very exciting. And then as far as threes, I'm curious what you guys think as far as my situation. I'm thinking maybe we should even try and roll something for a bit, Milkstick, like, because I want to partner up with a troll shadow priest or a troll disc priest. I love mana burn. Burning mana is like one of my favorite things in this game. I don't know. I'm sick, dude. I'm twisted. I freaking love Viper's thing, dude. It just tickles me, dude. I freaking love that shit, dude. I love draining mana in all capacities, right? So, you know, I had this kind of vision of rolling around with the troll disc priest, you know, who's still gonna have that stuff, and he has imp mana burn and freaking just yoink everyone's mana left, right, and center. But I don't know, Milkstick. I'm thinking if we roll with the shadow priest, and you're kind of what are you, Ali Resto right now?
Yep. There's two different specializations that I play. It's either 30-0-21, which is elemental resto with nature swiftness. And then there's also this interesting thing with Blizzard Classic, 30-0-21, basically Nature Swiftness Ellie, as we call it, predominantly and across the board, the premier spec. UHDX was actually a big proponent of Elemental Mastery in Warsong Gulch specifically, because it has that guaranteed critical strike chance against high priority targets like flag carriers. And with spell batching, as it turns out in Classic WoW, you get 2 for the price of 1, essentially. Elemental Mastery goes out, you cast a spell, and then you have another shock spell queued up as that spell is casting, and they will both crit and they will both have reduced mana. So it is effectively twice as good on Blizzard Classic. And so I have been kind of messing around with that as well.
That sounds really sick, yeah.
It's crazy. And so the thing about it is that exploring this and kind of peeling back the layers on that, I've actually gone back to Nature Swiftness because I've been playing in bigger group settings where Nature Swiftness, because at the end of the day, I always like to say when people ask me the question of like, how should I kind of prioritize my spells as an Ellie Shaman? Yes, you can do all this damage, and yes, you have the highest burst damage potential in the game, but don't forget that you are in fact a shaman. And so I always like to say, heal first, do damage later. Make sure the warriors are alive, because if you're dead, they don't have a Wind Fury totem. If your warriors don't have a Wind Fury totem, that's not a good look, especially in Arathi Basin and especially in Warsong Gulch, but even in World PvP. If you're dead and you're not providing the fundamental quintessential buffs that your class offers, you're really not playing your class correctly. And so I found that having that safety net of Nature Swiftness has been valuable in larger scale groups, 10-man groups. This morning, I found incredible value with Nature Swiftness and a couple of clutch heals, a couple of clutch saves, keeping those totems down for a little bit longer and being able to put out a little bit of pressure, maybe not as much, but it was enough to swing a fight that was otherwise even. Now, if you're by yourself, Elemental Mastery is unquestionably the better option, because it takes, and this is one of the things, without a PvP trinket, you're effectively defenseless against rogues. And so your best option is to land an Iron Grenade, which is a fairly low-level engineering item that if you're interested in PvP, you should pick up engineering, and it's one of the first things that you learn what's the word I'm looking for? A staple of PvP. And if you land an Iron Grenade, you have 1.5 seconds. That's enough time to cast Chain Lightning, which means it's enough time to cast Earth Shock, and they're both going to crit, and that rogue is dead. That warrior is dead. So I would say, if you're more interested, and it's a hybrid playstyle either way, but don't lose sight of the fact that you are in fact a shaman. You need to be healing. You need to be supplementing your front line with totems, and people rely on you to do that. And don't forget that either. I know you do a ton of damage. Your burst damage is off the charts. Trust me. You got to respect the fucking elements, but at the same time, you also don't want to be, bad. You don't want to like ignore your teammates and not heal them.
You got me thinking, Milk, dude. I think it could be a lot of fun, dude. If we roll around with a man, dude. So we roll around as a 3-man squad. We should try it one night, man. As a 3-man squad. Priest, you already like playing with the priest, right? So like, priest, shaman, and then you'll have an SL warlock here with the offensive, defensive dispels with a mage behind us that will not be part of the group, that can just cheap us when we get low, buff us up, just give us a little something there, like it.
Diabolical shit, dude.
That's some that I'm hyped.
We get the curse also with that. So
and we got any civilians in our way though, dude? The blood's on his hands, dude. He'll just go erase them real quick for us so we can proceed. We should give it a shot, man. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a ton of fun. I also love playing with rogues, man. See, one of the things that shamans really rely on a lot is, in the absence of free action potion, CC is prevalent in your game plan against a shaman. Specifically when that positions really well, there's only so much you can do. Good warriors know how to exploit positioning, and I've noticed specifically that you can give yourself as much space as you want before you're out of range of your teammates, and you have to kind of play into the front line. And having a rogue, especially a rogue that knows what they're doing, there is nothing more refreshing than a rogue player that actually knows what they're doing. They actually know how to peel. They actually know how to use their CC effectively, and they are lifesavers. More than a healer, a pocket healer, whatever you could have a full T2 priest with benediction that can throw power word shield and all these high number value heals on you. There's nothing more effective than a good rogue, especially when it comes to peels.
It's quite the endorsement right there. Sasuke's feeling pretty good over there. Sasuke, you bracket 1 yet, bro?
No, I don't think so. I think I might get bracket 2 this week. I'm honestly, for these next couple of weeks, I'm probably just going to be attempting to get bracket 2, just because it doesn't really impact my ability to rank. In terms of like taking extra weeks to get to rank 14, so not too.
I really like this about Sasuke. He has a very high goal at setting the bar high for 14, but you're very, very chill about it. Like it's not even creating any anxiety on your mind, dude. You're just fucking. I just envision you there, dude. Your legs kicked up, just chilling in Ironforge, just assassinating one gnome at a time. It's like fucking chilling out.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Honestly, sometimes I'm definitely really stressed out, but I try not to project my, frustrations or anxieties, at least on other people.
That's definitely the right attitude, man. I condone you for that, man.
Yeah. And I think you're going to be successful because what have we been talking about all night, right? Consistency, not getting triggered, not getting discouraged. You just got to take the L's with a smile, a little smile and a sip of cold brew. And just keep on keeping on, man. Dude. The cold brew, though, that's the secret IRL elixir right there. That is the consume. 0 calories, no acidity. You still get that delicious coffee taste. The stream is brought to you by cold brew. It's good stuff, though. I love it.
So the key with Rogue is to sit in Ironforge. It says bamboo.
Yeah.
I don't know, Sasuke. How's Ironforge been, man? You think I can sneak in there and complete his spots, dude?
Honestly, yeah. There's a lot to get through right now. It's all apparently there's a horde raid of 50 people outside in Dunmorrow.
How have they not caught on by now, though, dude? Are you switching spots in Ironforge constantly or something? Because
oh yeah, but there's still usually like a raid that comes in and kills me. So
gotcha.
Yeah, it's you get like you get one between 1 and 5 kills before you die, and then you refresh it. Especially if you have at least one of the rogue with you, it's not too bad. You get like 400 or 500 honor, and then yeah, you're doing pretty good. One thing I'd like to touch up on before we go though is I want to touch about like potential concerns that people might be having with the release of PvP, and for me one of my biggest concerns is the fact that the person who's 48, at least on Alliance side, he's going to spend most of his time as a corpse, and it's really just going to ruin his enjoyment out of the game. I feel like for a player like that who was playing it a little bit more casually and just enjoying playing with his real life friends or whoever he was playing
Just
with,
hop in the
is
dungeon,
now
bro. That's it. Fixes everything.
yeah, you say that now, but you have to get yourself killed 2-3 times to get to the dungeon, and God forbid you guys need to reset and you have to go outside because you don't have a second account to do so. So there's like a lot of different issues that I think that that at least Blizzard is overlooking by not releasing
Yes.
Battlegrounds, in my opinion.
Would you guys like to see BGs in
I
a
would
phase
love to see
2.5 like earlier than anticipated?
I think it's the best overall option. So I was talking about this a little bit earlier, and Sasuke, you hit the nail on the head, man. Our goal, especially as a Horde player on Skyrim who's interested in ranking, my goal is to not stall you from questing and getting to 60. My goal is to get honor. If Blizzard gives me another avenue to get honor, I will leave you the hell alone. Unfortunately, you are in the way. And so if to all of the underleveled people I have been ganking for the past 2 days in Ungaro, I am sorry. I really am. But that being said, I think that there's numerous advantages to offering Battlegrounds, including server stability, including faction imbalance. All of that kind of goes away or becomes a non-factor with Battlegrounds because we are not interested necessarily in maybe not everybody, but speaking for myself here, and I think speaking for Sasuke and Cargos, we're more interested in Battlegrounds. It will help with the stability issues. It will help with the people who are leveling right now who have not been able to complete a quest in 2.5 days. It will help with everything, and it is one of those things that I would personally like to see, but I understand if it is not in the cards. But it seems like one of those things that's beneficial for pretty much everybody sitting at the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really feel like it's paramount to the success of the private, or at least the classic WoW community, and its success. Because, at least for right now, everyone's really excited. PvP is all fresh, it's new. But, give it a month's time, and every single time, I'm already one of 6 rogues that just is constantly here in Ironforge killing people, right? Give it a month's time. How many rogues do you think you'll see? Probably 15 or 20 at any given time, at least, And so eventually people aren't going to be able to go to Ironforge. They're going to have to go, Darnassus is going to be the new main hub. And so because of that, rogues are going to migrate there. And so eventually, Alliance are just going to want to leave because they're not even able to go to the auction house safely. It's just going to be a constant nuisance for the underdog, really, right? At least on every server, in my opinion, the underdog is at a severe disadvantage, and it's just only gonna exacerbate as time continues.
That's very valid feedback, man, and I'm sure we can. There's a lot to go through there too, and we dedicated an episode towards digesting that fully, but we're gonna wrap it up, guys. If you guys could be so kind as to follow Sasuke and Milksteak. Milksteak is actually live right now too, so I'm gonna drop the host on him when we go. Please give him a shot. We don't know, how often we're gonna do this. I'm pretty much down whatever, but dude, there's a lot we can cover here. We can talk about specs. We can go through different talents and go through, maybe pick a class for one episode and go through the matchups of it, go through itemization on it. There's a million things we can talk. We can just analyze, world PvP videos, BG videos. Pretty much the world is our oyster right now. And if you have any good feedback for us on topics we can cover or content we can cover here, please let us know. Hit us up. Oh, Ale's in the house. Ale, I was trying to hit you up earlier, bro. I was trying to get you on here. What's up, Ale Gaming, chieftain of the Ale Nation, in the chat, fellow Onslaught member. Who's that fourth Mythstory panelist? I used Ale's character, right? That's Ale's character from back in the day. That's funny. But yes, I'm also gonna put Sasuke's Twitch in here as well. Is it Sasuke TV, right?
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Sasuke TV. But really want to make PvP in Classic WoW great and make good content and you know, build a community out with you guys. So if you have any advice or for us or anything like that, we'd really appreciate it. You guys have any final words or anything?
Yeah, to everyone watching right now, if you guys have any topics you'd like us to discuss or maybe go over for the future, or if you have some sort of structure that you'd like us, you know, to break down and really kind of like, you know, just get it down to the nitty gritty and go over every single detail for us, you know, maybe we can make it even to like a 3-part series or something like that. Any suggestions you guys have, please leave it in the comments below. We could really use it. And you know, and then you get to hear, you know, a little bit more experienced discussion about whatever it is topic you'd like to hear about. So
it's only gonna get better too. When BGs come out, we can actually look at VODs, and maybe we can even just have one of us play, and we all watch and shit on them and make fun of them and just joke around or whatever. Like, we'll do what if you guys have any you know, opinions on what the name of the show could be too. This is really the pilot. We're just here trying to connect with you guys and get some feedback here and stuff. And we all love the game. But with that said, we will see you next time on TBD PvP show with Milksteak Law, Sasuke, myself, and maybe Ale Gaming on the next episode. We will see. Take care, everybody. Have a pleasant evening. Happy ranking.